Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope you're all well and safe and taking care of yourselves as best as you can. So in today's video I wanted to share with you a magical working that I'm going to be doing, and so I'm just cleansing my space with a homemade smoke bundle of rosemary and just preparing myself ahead of the working. So if you like the sound of the video, do give it a thumbs up and click the like button, share it with anyone who you think would be interested to see, and if you'd like to see more from me along the lines of magic, witchcraft, spirituality, and of course tarot, and you're not already subscribed, then please do think about subscribing. So I'm going to take you through this working step by step, and you can take some of the ideas and use them to create your own working. You don't have to use everything that I use, but this is just an idea of how you could do a working like this. Do bear in mind I am just sharing my personal practice, so this is what works for me, and by all means change up some of the herbs or the intentions and do with this what you will. So I'm going to leave the ingredients listed below as well for you to take a look at later if you want to use some of the same herbs or ingredients as me. So today I'm going to be making a honey jar, and it's going to be a self-love honey jar, and I'm going to put in lots of correspondences to match my intention along the lines of courage and giving myself the grace and self-acceptance, being patient with myself, giving myself time, giving myself opportunities to rest, really just loving myself and giving myself what nourishes my body, my mind and my spirit. So that's what this working is going to be focused on, also to do with healing of the body and the mind, the soul, the spirit, and also kind of womb healing areas as well. So this is going to be a very holistic kind of spell jar that is meant for me only. It's not meant to be for friendship or love or anything like that with anyone else. So it's literally a self-love, self-care kind of holistic spell jar, which I'm going to be using honey for as the sweetening agent, and potentially some sugar as well if I feel like it. I have quite a lot of herbs I want to use, but you can obviously take this idea, use your own herbs that work for your correspondence, and whatever is going to work for you if you want to do a working like this. So you don't need to have all of the ingredients that I have. This is just an idea of how it might work, and I'm just sharing my practice with you. So I have a jar here that was a honey jar. You can see the top, it's quite pretty. So I'm just going to use some dried rosemary, homemade smoke cleansing bundle, and I'm just going to use the rosemary to get rid of any unwanted energy, any residual energy that's sort of left over. Although this is clean, it's been cleaned thoroughly, physically cleansed thoroughly. I've cleansed myself and my space as well, and I've got burning here some Blade Over Shield Morrigan incense from Joy Morris at Starry Eyed Supplies, which is my favourite. In the top here, this is organic soy wax that I use on top of my burner, and I have a little organic soy wax tea light inside the oil burner, and that's just heating up this soy wax on top. This has got some of the Blade Over Shield loose incense blend that Joey also creates. So this has just been in the burner from previous workings, from previous work I've done here in the last few days. I have done workings like this in the past, and over the past few years I've done a few, and here are a couple of examples of how they end up looking, and I've kept these. I won't be throwing them out, and I have done them in the past as well and disposed of them and such, and you can keep them, you can dispose of them. It's just however long your working really feels. I think I know what these each are for, and I think I need to hang on to them, so I am not throwing them out, but they are for slightly different intentions than this one I'm going to create today. But if you do make one and then you decide you have finished with it and you want to dispose of it, then it's really important that you dispose of it in a ethical way. So obviously if you've not put anything toxic in your jar, which I doubt it if you're doing a any love kind of spell jar, then as long as it will decompose, then it's probably okay to put most of the contents into like the compost. If there is anything that's sort of not natural or that's going to be harmful, then just do your research, make sure that you don't dispose of it in that way. If it's for, you know, a generally kind of positive working, not baneful in any way, then, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to cleansing the jar, washing it out thoroughly, smoke cleansing it, you know, and then reusing it. But if you've done something baneful, then that's sort of up to you whether you wanted to do that. So those are just ways that you can think about disposing of your spell jar once you've created it. And also obviously you probably know that there are lots and lots of different types of spell jars that you can do. The most frequent ones that I have done in the past is for sort of love, for self-love, for success, for prosperity, abundance, those kinds of things. So these are just examples of how they can look. I also have pulled some oracle cards here. This is from the Hedge Witches Botanical Oracle by CeeLo Thompson, and this is a really beautiful deck. So I have pulled some herbs with correspondances at the bottom, and I don't actually have any of these herbs in my apothecary kind of herbal dried herbs, and when you're making a spell jar, you know, you want to use dried herbs. So what I have done instead is sort of look at the keywords here and use that to kind of influence what herbs I'm going to be using. I actually do live around an abundance of nettle, but I haven't actually kept any and dried it myself, so that's something that I would quite like to do this year. There is an abundance of nettle here, but it would be fresh, so I wouldn't want to use that anyway in this case. But nettle is such an incredible ingredient, so I would like to use it more, just as a side note. I also pulled 2 cards from the Herbcrafters Tarot, and this is the Curandera of Fire, and I believe that corresponds to the King and then the Magician, and the Curandera of Fire is Damiana and Sunflower is the Magician, and these 2 herbal correspondences, or floral herbal correspondences, really match up to some of the intentions as well, so I'm going to also be using these to inform my spell crafting today. Okay, so I'm just going to put these to the side so I've got a bit of space to work. I call in love and protection to me. I call in self-love. I call in healing. I call in balance. I hold space for myself. I allow myself grace as I move through my emotions, sticky emotions, positive emotions, uplifting emotions, sad emotions, all of them, the spectrum of emotions. I allow myself to feel, and I give myself the grace to move through these. I create for myself a bubble of protection. I am safe. I am whole. I am magical, and I love myself. I am safe. I am whole. I am magical, and I love myself. I fully embrace my beauty, and I draw more to myself. I draw to myself abundance and courage, and so much love for myself, for my strength and fortitude. In all ways, I love myself, I love my body, I love myself, I am powerful, I am strong, I am beautiful, I am successful, I am powerful, I am strong, I am beautiful, and I am courageous. I have already crafted a sigil ahead of time in my Book of Shadows, and I've created the sigil here on my petition paper, and I've written around it what I want to call into myself, and I've asserted the love I feel for myself and the power I have. I've asserted myself as a magical being in this world and stated how much love I have for myself, and I've signed it as well. So now that I've made my petition paper, I'm going to anoint it, and I have some oil here. This is some of my homemade oil that I made with the Morrigan, and so this brings in a lot of the self-love elements because that's some of the work that I've been doing with her. So this is a lot about sovereignty, fortitude, strength, courage, love, self-love, really about preservation of the self, and also sensuality and beauty, and just calling all of those things into me. So this oil is the oil that I use most frequently in my spells, unless I am doing something more protective, but I could still use this for that as well. I use this for a lot of intentions, and because I crafted it myself, it has a lot of power imbued into it, and I also call on the Morrigan when I'm using this as well. I am magical, I am beautiful, I am powerful, I love myself. I am magical, I am beautiful, I am powerful, and I love myself. I am magical, I am beautiful, I am powerful, and I love myself. So now that I've created my petition paper and I've anointed it with my oil, I'm going to fold it. I've already folded it once, so I'm going to fold it 4 times and turn it clockwise, and I'm folding it towards myself, and 4 times for security, protection, and that kind of fortitude. So I'm going to pop that in first, and now I'm going to get some of my herbs together and start to add them in. I have quite a lot of herbs to add in, so I'm only going to add a little bit in of each. So first of all, I'm going to add in some rose petals. These are organic rose petals, and I use these a lot in herbal baths and blends. And so rose petals are for a deep self-love and compassion for myself, acknowledgement of my own beauty. Next up, another herb that I use really frequently is lavender flowers, and I use these in baths as well, and anything that sort of needs peace and promotion of calmness, and also for friendship, anything really. This has got so many different correspondances. Specifically here, I'm adding this for sort of soothing pain and discomfort, allowing myself to feel peaceful, giving myself time for self-care and rest, and to just bring in that sort of calming energy. I have some dried orange here that I want to add in just a little bit of, and this is for friendship for myself really, and to bring to myself positivity and joy in all things I do, a sort of sense of play, and I think it really ties in with the sun and the sunflower in the Herbcrafters Tarot. I have some lemon balm here. I'm going to be using the lemon balm for kind of soothing or mental health and clarity, and also a kind of just peacefulness within myself. So this is a great herb for kind of mental health and clarity. I have some vervain here, and I'm going to be using this for protection for myself and protection for the love I have for myself as well. So again, this is kind of calling on the mental health side of things and fortitude, a sense of like being really strong, self-assured in my love and not allowing myself to, I guess, compromise my love for myself. I'm adding in some mugwort, which is another herb that I use frequently in sort of sleep workings and astral workings, and I actually do like to smoke it sometimes as well. Very, very, very rarely, but this is just a beautiful herb for tapping into your intuition and psychic development and dreams, and this is here to give me sweet dreams and to protect my dreams, and also to allow myself to tap into that spiritual side of myself, to give myself spiritual and psychic protection within this realm as well as others, as I'm traveling, as I'm dreaming, as I'm lucid dreaming, astrally traveling, whatever it is. And so I'm protected, and so I'm setting the intention that this is going to be opening all of those gateways for myself to receive information through my dreams, but that it be in a nourishing way, and that it's not jarring in any way, and that it's protecting me at the same time. So my intuition is fired up, but it's all for my sort of spiritual alignment, spiritual growth, as well as my physical and mental, and on this level grounded kind of way, as well as all of that. I recently bought some peppermint tea, which I haven't even opened yet, and what I will probably do is take a little bit out of this and put it in a separate jar and put it in my herbal apothecary to use in spell workings, so to keep them separate, because I never use something for culinary use as well as for magical use. Obviously I do kitchen witchery, so sometimes those herbs go into food that is imbued with magic, but it's not connected to anything else that I do sort of here, so that I don't have any crossover, you know. So what I will do is just take a little bit of this now, and then I'll separate it out so that this tea is kept in the kitchen and used as tea, and then I have some in here for putting in baths or whatever I want to do with it. Oh my goodness, this just smells incredible actually. So I've just taken a really, really small amount of this peppermint, and I'm going to be using this in this working for success and for sort of confidence, to be successful, to also bring out creativity and to really, really spark those kind of like ideas and be really kind of engaging for me, and to give myself that sort of potency, you know, that I feel that mint really gives, as well as, you know, sensuality and success, you know, that the mint brings. So this is an element of that success, you know, abundance of success, abundance of wealth and prosperity, bringing all that in here with this peppermint. This is smelling amazing. I want to add some cinnamon, and I have some in just spice jars. These are my herbal apothecary ones though, I just keep them in my drawer here. So I don't use these in the kitchen, but I do use cinnamon in the kitchen, but just separate bottles, so just so that's clear. But I'm going to be using a cinnamon stick as well as some cinnamon, and with the cinnamon I'm going to be bringing in sensuality and attracting that sensuality as well as the abundance and success again, as with the peppermint. I feel like this cinnamon is going to allow me to be confident in what I'm offering as well, what I'm creating, what I'm putting out into the universe, to really tap into the beauty and acknowledge all of that I am putting out and feeling and drawing in for myself as well. I have some Damiana here, and the Damiana I'm going to be using for self-love and body acceptance. So real love for myself, my body, this physical vessel that I've been given, and just sort of healing and in that space and allowing myself to feel pleasure and joy and, you know, really, really indulge in it. Exactly. I have some organic lime flowers here, and again I'm going to be using it for love for my female body. And of course you can use this if you don't have a female body, it's just that's what I have, so that's what I'm learning to love. So calling in that element here of the divine feminine, and of course you, as I said, you don't have to be a woman to do this. But it's all about loving my body and all the elements of it and healing and bringing all of that to me, being able to enjoy my body and to feel sensuous, to feel sexual and really feel good about that. I have some hibiscus here, and I'm going to be using this to give myself some more grace and to really hold space for myself, to be a friend to myself and to hold my own hand through the thick and thin, basically, to marry myself kind of thing. I feel it's also about fidelity and sort of constancy, loyalty to self, which is something that I really, really feel is important for me to bring into this spell for myself. I have some raspberry leaf here. This is going to be used for womb healing aspects, as well as, again, learning to love my body the way it is, learning to appreciate and accept it for what it looks like, what it's done for me, and really, really honour and worship that, and to bring in that sense of healing where I feel I need it. I have some ladies' mantle here as well, and I'm also going to be using this in a kind of womb healing capacity. Again, body acceptance and loving myself for everything that it's been through, and loving myself more, you know, learning to have the courage to love myself more and to not be ashamed of loving myself, you know, because I am beautiful and I deserve that love, as we all do. Again, talking about womb healing, but that doesn't mean that anyone who doesn't have a womb can't do this working and can't use this herb, can't call in the same energies. It's not exclusive. This is just a working for me, and this is what I'm bringing in for me. I have some mullein here, and I'm going to be using this for courage and sovereignty. Again, that sort of sense of, you know, allowing myself to have the grace to love myself and be verbally okay with that, to be vocal about it, to not be ashamed of it, to not feel like it's something that's taboo or something that makes me arrogant just because I love myself. And that mullein is really calling in that courage to do that, and that sense of sovereignty, protection over the working as well, so that there's that fortitude there and that strength. I have some chamomile. Again, this is for love, kind of friendship for myself, bringing in joy, bringing in happiness, bringing in peace and calmness, you know, allowing myself to relax, giving myself the time to find space for myself, to hold myself, to nurture myself, to love myself, to give myself pleasure, just to feel into the moment, to be comforted, to be nourished. I have some calendula flowers here as well, and again I'm using this for sort of similar kind of bringing in the joy and abundance and really being kind to myself and giving myself the space that I need for love, for self-love. I am my own best friend. Got some jasmine flowers again. I'm going to be putting 3 in, and these are going to be loving in a really gentle and nurturing way. This is kind of for that constancy, that loyalty again to myself and giving myself the friendship I really, really need. I'm drawing all of this to me. I also find there's so much beauty in the jasmine flower, and the scent of it, it is intoxicatingly beautiful, and it is so calming and soothing, and I find it just a beautiful herb to work with. So that's the herbal component of the spell jar completed. It looks a little bit like this. It's very beautiful. It smells stunning. I work a lot with shells and water magic as well, and so I have a little jar of some rocks and shells, so I'm going to be just selecting one to put in because this really represents for me, you know, that safe space and healing, going inward, nurturing that intuition and that emotion and allowing myself to have that and move through that and that be okay. So I'm going to be using the shell for that. That's going to go in. I also wanted to add, in the middle of the working, I want to leave an offering for my goddess. I do offer her libations as well, and I'll be giving her some red wine this evening, but I have this beautiful chalice goblet that my father made. He is into woodwork and he created this. He created another one. I'm not actually sure what wood he used, so I need to check with him what wood he used, but I'm going to be using this for dried offerings to Morrigan. So this is the one I'm going to be using for her. I often consider the incense to be an offering in itself when I'm spell working, but I also want to make an offering of these beautiful hibiscus flowers here because it's such a beautiful flower, and I feel it really extends that kind of like beauty and love and reverence in a very friendly but also sort of very respectful and reverent way. So I'm going to be just popping these in here for that purpose. The Morrigan actually has a separate part of her altar, so I'm actually going to move that over there. So I'm going to add in a few essential oils as well. If I was making a spell oil like this, I might add in the dried herb as well as the essential oil that corresponds to it. However, in this working, I'm not going to do that because I think it could just get really, really complicated. I could add in some organic rose essential oil to this, which I have done in the past, but right now I think I've got enough of the rose, but I am going to add in some extra sort of things. I have some tuberose here that I picked up from Starchild, and this is tuberose absolute, and tuberose is one of my very favourite scents, so that way I've kind of got the rose in there. I also want to add some vanilla. I use vanilla a lot to sweeten spells, and I find it just the most delicious, most sensual scent, and so I really feel it brings in that kind of sensuousness and that sexuality. Ylang Ylang is an essential oil that I really, really think is so, so beautiful and very sensual, very sexual, very seductive. So I'm adding that in as well for myself, that sort of self-pleasure. And agar wood here, which is essentially oud. Again, I find it very, very sensual. It's also very, very strong, and it's got that kind of dominant, kind of creative component to it. So I want to add that as well, because this is not a passive kind of working. This might be self-love and everything and bringing all of that in, but it is really about a fusion of creativity and receptivity, the polarities between sort of creation and receptivity. I think there's a balance there between the two, so I'm bringing in that love, that self-love for myself, that healing and that friendship. I'm also bringing that protection and that joy and that spark of creativity, you know, that real ability to create things that are beautiful and successful and push things out into the world as well that are beautiful. And so there's that balance there between the two, so it's bringing in those things. I will just add as well that I have been working with aromatherapy for quite a long time, essential oils for a long time, because my mother always used them when I was growing up. So I grew up learning that you never ever use essential oils neat on the skin. I would just never ever do it. I would also never ever add it to food. I have some books on aromatherapy. I read about it a lot. I use it in blends, but I always blend it with another oil. So I will say it's really, really important that you do your research and learn about what you're using before you just go ahead and do something. So I am going to add these in here, and what I'm going to be doing as well is I'm just going to be diluting them with some of this, which is almond oil. This is sweet almond oil, and you could use anything from like sunflower oil to olive oil. Olive oil actually works really, really well in kind of love spells and things like that, but I always use pretty much almond oil, so that's what I'm going to be using here. So I've got a little mixing bowl. This is a bowl, I'm not sure where it came from, but my mum always used to mix aromatherapy oils in this when I was little, so she gave it to me at some point. So if this was a blend that I was actually going to touch, then I would be really more specific about it, but in general I kind of go with 100 mils to about 18 drops of whatever it is. So I'm not going to be using 100 mils. I've got a little measuring cup here which is 25 mils. So I'm basically going to add just one drop of each to this. And that really smells amazing. You can really smell the vanilla. It's just gorgeous. And this would be safe to use on the skin. So I'm just bringing all of the correspondances to each of these aromatherapy oils, each of these essential oils, to bring in that love, sensuality, creativity. In the past I have used sugar in my honey jars, but I just don't feel the need to right now. I have some honey here that I've already brought out of the honey jar, and I'm just going to stir this and think about my intention. And the honey really does bring in that kind of slow, long-lasting, beautiful love. And I feel like the antibacterial kind of elements of it, antifungal elements of it, not only help to preserve the jar, but they also bring in that element of like protection for the love working as well. I feel like honey is a really beautiful sweetening agent to use. Of course, if you are a vegan, you could use something like maple syrup or agave or sugar or anything like that, whatever works for you. I'm just going to be setting my intention, and I also do sometimes blow my intention onto my ingredients, so I've been doing a bit of that in this video as well. So this is for long-lasting love, longevity, self-love. Another thing you could do is, if you have a spare spoon that's for eating, you could eat some of the honey as long as it's not, you know, had contact with anything that's not edible or not safe to consume. So that is my jar, and you can see the honey moving through it slowly and the oil, and I think it just looks beautiful. And you can see my petition in there as well, and it's got my sigil, everything really that I feel is really important for it to have in it. So now I do have a candle because I am going to sort of activate the jar with the candle. I have these beeswax candles, which are a little bit difficult to carve into, but I do my best. So I've just carved into the candle self-love, beauty, abundance and success, and I'm going to be using my homemade oil again to anoint it. So again, this is a blend with almond oil, so it is not essential oils only. It's got a dilution of essential oil, so it's safe to put on your skin. So I'm just going to anoint the candle now, and I am anointing the candle in a downwards direction because I feel that's what works best for me when I am drawing something to myself, when I'm attracting something to myself. And then I'm just melting the bottom of the candle, sticking it to the jar, lighting it, and then I'm just going to watch it burn down. While I was tidying away my herbs, I noticed I had just a little bit of residual oil in the bowl, and I did dilute this down enough to be skin safe, so I just used the rest of it to dab a little bit onto my wrist and onto my neck, and I wore it the next day as well, and it was just beautiful. I really think it helped to round off the working so beautifully, and I just found it really lovely. I really hope that you enjoyed the video and that you enjoyed seeing a little peek into my practice and a self-love jar spell that you can do yourself or take elements of and make your own. If you did find value in the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give the video a thumbs up and click the like button. And also, if you're not subscribed already and you'd like to see more from me around spellcraft, magic, witchcraft, spirituality and of course tarot, then please do think about subscribing. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit that little bell notification. That's going to let you know when I create and upload videos just like this one. So with all of that said, thank you again so much for joining me. I hope that you stay well and safe and take care of yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you in another video really soon. Take care. Bye.